Good morning or afternoon, boys and girls. Today we're going to continue talking about multiplying fractions. But we're not going to focus on finding the product today. Today we're going to focus on determining the size of the product relative to its factors, meaning we want to try to figure out if the product is going to be greater than, less than, or equal to the factors. So if I take an example of 2 times 3/5. And I want to know if it's going to be equal to, less than, or greater than 3/5. Let's write our list here. So either it's going to be greater than, or it can be less than, or we're talking about being equal to. So let's think about 3/5. Will the product be equal to, less than, or greater than 3/5? Well, let's think. If it was 1 times 3/5, that would be exactly 3/5. But 2 times 3/5 means 2 groups of 3/5. So that would end up being greater than 3/5. So let's think about the other way. What if I'm thinking about the 2? Will the product be greater than, less than, or equal to 2? So sometimes it's hard to think about it this way. We can turn it around because the commutative property says it can change the order of multiplication and not change its value. If I have 3/5 of 2, 3/5 of 2, again, let's think if it was 1 times 2, it would be 2. It would be equal. But 3/5 is less than 1. 3/5 is a fraction. I want a fraction of 2. That's going to end up being less than 2. Let's see that using a model. If I take 3/5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need 2 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want 3/5. That's 3/5. And here are 3/5. So if I wanted 2 times 3/5, 2 groups of 3/5, that's going to equal to 6/5. That's definitely more than 3/5. And what do we think about it the other way? 3/5 of 2. What would 2 wholes be? 2 wholes would be the entire 2 rectangles, right? That would be 2 wholes. But I'm not taking 2 wholes. I'm only taking 3/5 of the 2 wholes. So that's definitely less than 2. Let's try it again. This time, we're going to work with not a whole number in a fraction. We're going to try it with 2 fractions. Let's say I'm taking 2/5 of a half. 2/5 of a half. And again, I want to think about what will the product be. So let's think about the half. 2/5 of a half. If I was doing 1 times a half, it would be the entire half. But I'm not taking 1 times half. I'm taking 2/5 of half, a part of a half. That's going to end up being less than the half. I'm only taking a part of the half. What about 2/5? 2/5 times a half of 2/5. Again, remember in your head, you can always reverse it to help you think about it. Sometimes it might be helpful. I want half of 2/5. I'm not taking the entire 2/5. I'm taking a portion of the 2/5. So it will also be less than 2/5. And we can draw a model for this also. Let's start off with a whole. And I want half of the whole. Here's my half. I want 2/5 of the half. So I have to take my amount, break it into fifths. Sorry, I'm so even, I'm sorry. But I only want 2 of those fifths. 1, 2, 2/5. 2/5 of half is definitely less than half. Is it less than 2/5? Well, 2/5 would be this whole section. That's 2/5 of the whole, and it's half of that. So it's definitely less than 2/5. So when you're taking a fraction of a fraction, your product will be less than both of those fractions. When we're talking about a fraction and a whole, because of repeated addition, your product will be more than the fraction, but it's going to be less than your whole. And we'll practice more of that quite a bit in this chapter. I didn't give an independent work.